Hi, poets and writers. I'm Case Spivey. Have you been watching The Last of Us? Because I for sure have. And it's time to talk about it. I've been watching it every week as it comes out. I was super excited for it when it was first announced. I mean, my husband was a little skeptical, but I was real excited about Pedro Pascal. I didn't really watch Game of Thrones. I didn't know who Bella Ramsey was. I hadn't seen her acting. I was like, she's probably pretty good though, since she was a child actor in Game of Thrones. They chose some amazing actors for that series, even though I got tired of it after season 1. It's just because I don't like misery porn. Well, The Last of Us isn't misery porn at all. We need to talk about it. I'll give you my backstory with the game, because I did not actually play the game. I played the little intro part of the first game, which I feel like is one of the best intros to a video game ever. My husband is super into the series. So he had played before we even met, and then when the second game came out, he was super excited and had to play it right away. It came out and he was playing it around when Animal Crossing was also really big, so I could just like lie with the Switch and like play it while he had the TV and was playing The Last of Us 2. So I really got my start and my interest in The Last of Us through Last of Us 2. I had only played really just that intro for the first game myself, because I suck at first person shooters, okay? I hate them. I hate that. Like, I can't headshot anybody. Like, I enjoy a game where I'm swinging a sword. That's way more my speed. I like adventure and everything, and I love a good storyline, but I like Fire Emblem or Breath of the Wild are my games. So, or Animal Crossing. So as he was playing The Last of Us 2, that's when I really got to know the characters and got to know just how outstanding the storytelling is. Like, I knew a little bit that the storytelling is really unique and good in The Last of Us. And I knew that because I had seen, pieces of it. I had seen the intro. I kind of knew the vague gist of the storyline. But with the second game then, I was really able to see like just the depth that's going. And I'm not going to talk too much about the second game, even though like, I'm serious. No other medium of anything has ever been able to encapsulate like forcing empathy upon you in the way that game could. They were so good at just like making you realize what humanity is. I don't know. It's amazing. For The Last of Us, the TV show, it's got all of like the good things about a zombie film, right? Like I freaking love a good zombie flick. I love it. It's so much fun. All of us are dead though. That one's pretty heavy. I haven't quite finished it. We started. We had to put it up. But I like things like Train to Busan, Kingdom. Ones where there's a lot of like intrigue and a lot of other things happening, but at the core, at the crux of it, there's a lot of like love. Maybe not in Kingdom. In Kingdom, it's more of solving the mystery, but in Train to Busan and #Alive, which are both equally phenomenal by the same person, but both with like differing levels of hope. But I love that like in the midst of the fear and the chaos and the despair, love is the thing that prevails, and that is the most important thing about The Last of Us, is that love prevails and humanity prevails. So now we're getting into spoilers of the show, okay? We're just gonna jump on in. When we talk about like great storytelling, I think we often, as writers especially, are taught that, like the character needs to need something. But it's more than that. Like the character's gotta love something. There has to be something that the character loves that's driving them. And so for Joel, it was really the thing he loved was Sarah, his daughter, and he didn't have anything and sort of became a monster. But when you stop and think about it, and with everything we know about him, the one thing that Joel did have that then like characters like Henry suddenly didn't have was he did have Tommy. He's had some family, someone he cared about. That maybe in the final episode he mentions he flinched could be the reason. Ellie wasn't even born yet at that point, right? Then Ellie became that, and that love is so deep and so human. And I think that's the real thing. Okay, I want to talk about the ending. I really want to talk really bad, because I think when we talk about if Joel did the right or the wrong thing, we're missing the point entirely. And I think the director and the game creator really tried to like drive that home as well. And yet still people bring it up, but it's not about that. And they were saying it as in like Joel would make this choice regardless. But it's not really even that. It's not about if it, a right or wrong choice. Like, let's say he did walk away and he let Ellie get murdered, essentially murdered, because it was without her consent. And they were able to do all of the experiments that they wanted to do on her and then found no cure. Like, what if that had been the future, if that had been the conclusion, like, is that then the right choice to let this little girl die and for him to then have nothing to live for? Is that better? And that's the thing, it's not better, but it's not worse either. And that's kind of the point. That's the thing about this series that's just brilliant. There's not like a best and a worst. There's not a good and a bad. There's humans doing human things and trying to survive and trying to protect the things they love. And that's not wrong or right. And that the wrong and right is so outside of the reality of this universe where everything is so bad. The way it's outside of the reality of the universe we live in currently. Like, it's just so brilliant that they're able to take this medium, like, violent zombie killing shooting story, like, video game, and they tell this gorgeous story about someone who can't give in and give up, like, basically, right? Like, someone who needs to protect someone at all costs, someone who's doing something that in the moment is the only choice he could have made, the only choice that felt right. But the one thing the show didn't do, and I think the show did a brilliant job of almost showing this as like Joel's gone off the deep end, but in a sad way. They make you feel sad about it. That this, they really hone in on the fact that this isn't a right choice that he's making. Like, this is also possibly dooming all of humanity, right? One of the things that I think they maybe could have done more of, and they barely did, but apparently in the game, if you stop during your killing spree in the hospital and go into each and every room, you slowly piece together the fact that, and this I'm getting secondhand from my husband, because as he was playing the games, he really commented a lot and told me a lot of things about it. And as we were watching the show then, he would comment and get excited and show me cutscenes and things. So I am getting this a little bit secondhand. So my opinion could be only based upon his memory in secondhand. But as you're playing through that level, you can go and find lots and lots of Easter eggs. One of the things you find is that the doctor is a little unhinged. He's a little mad scientist-y. He's maybe not the person you want cutting open anybody's brains, least of all your child's, right? And then another thing is, she's probably not the only person they've done this to. They've probably had other subjects. They've probably found that there's no cure this way, because the way the cordyceps is like not affecting Ellie, and they did kind of show a backstory, and that was cool and all, that like it's not something right single, but there you can look at apparently x-rays of Ellie's brain, basically, or I guess it wouldn't be an x-ray, it'd be like a MRI of her brain, and you can see that the cordyceps is just around her brain, but not quite the right way, and somehow that's stopping it from like turning her into a zombie. So it's still there. But so if that's the thing, if it's just around her brain a certain way, even if you were to, dissect her brain and look at it and study it, there's not a cure you can make out of that. And the scientist, there's a strong implication that the scientist knows this and knows that there's no creating a cure for others. Regardless, this is just an experiment. This isn't in any way a sure thing. This isn't in any way a thing where like we're one step away, we just need like kill this girl and then all of a sudden we have a cure. Like, that's not it at all. He's just spitballing. He's just trying a few things. And also Ellie doesn't know that this is going to happen to her. She really, I mean, you get to see that with Sam and Henry, where she tries to use her blood as a cure. She genuinely thinks they're going to take some blood and create a vaccine. And what she doesn't think is that she's going to get her brain taken out of her head, right? Like, we're already on the consent level, totally wrong. And many people have pointed that out, that the scientist is just being batshit. This is completely wrong to take a healthy human and just like, oh, just in case, maybe we can figure things out. So there's already that, and that apparently is made very clear in the game if you aren't just going on your happy murder spree and you actually stop and look at all of the clues that they give you. And I wish they'd done a little more of that in the show, and I thought they were going to. But because they didn't, I think some people might kind of gloss over that and be like, oh, all of humanity is doomed because of this one thing, because of one little girl who's somehow the only person who's immune, which is a statistical improbability for one thing, but also completely not like something replicable. Not something that then could have saved. And so Joel choosing to like save her to doom all of humanity, it's not even that. It's choosing to save her versus her and maybe other children out there in the world get just dissected for funsies just to see in this world where things have gotten this bad. And he's done some awful things. So many people have done some really awful things. Almost putting his foot down and saying this is not okay. And just because it's Ellie maybe is the only reason he would even say it. And that's so true. And that's so much also part of it, that like we've gotten to this point, we can't go back. I mean, it's beautiful storytelling, but also just in what world would it be better for him to leave her there on the table to get experimented on? The only justification is then cutting her open this one time is a cure that solves the entire zombie crisis. And even if you're on that side, even if you're on Team Humanity, you know that's not even remotely realistic, right? Not even in the ballpark of realistic. And I think that's the amazing thing about it too, is that maybe Joel didn't make the right, maybe gunning down an entire hospital worth of fireflies and just to rescue one girl is a little batshit crazy of him, right? And let's be honest, this all comes from video games. You gotta have some people to shoot. There's a lot of levels of shooting stuff. That's how a video game works. And so there wasn't going to just be, you know, a civil negotiation just because of gameplay. But also, we're not that kind of character. We're not at that point. Everything has led up to this, and this is the only option. And like, I do like that they saved the nurses. Apparently that's an option you can do in the game, but you can also kill them. And I like that he didn't, because he's not a monster in the way that like we see him be monstrous. Because everyone is human. Even the psycho crazy murder priest, the cannibal priest, he's also a human. He's not something that only is produced in this universe, you know? Like all of the people in the show, good, bad, however you want to classify them, one of the things that The Last of Us does incredibly well, and if they can't do it the same way that they do it in the game, I don't want them to even make a second season. Like, I'm so excited about season 2, you guys. I'm so excited. But if they can't pull it off, I don't want them to do it. And I think they won't. I think they're smart enough. The way the game is able to establish the fact that there's no good guys and bad guys, that everyone has their own agenda, that everyone is hurting from something, and everyone is making a decision in some way, and they're making bad decisions, and they're making good decisions. And that good and badness doesn't mean anything, because your good decision on this side could seem like the worst decision in the world to somebody else. And someone can be hurting because of your choices and your happiness, and you could be causing hurt to others. Like, it's so honest and raw, and is forcing this dichotomy of good versus bad out. There are moments when literally this happens in the second game. I'm gonna try not to spoil anything for you, but literally there'll be moments where you'll like plow down a lot of people, okay? You'll plow down like a complex worth of people. And then the very next scene, you've switched perspectives and you're getting to know those people, like on a deep basis, like first name basis, what you had for breakfast this morning, what's your dog doing, that kind of a level. And you do that all the time in that game. And I think there's so much brilliance in that, where they're just like, you don't get to just mindlessly plow down enemies. You don't get to hate this character. You don't get to judge them for their actions because you're choosing these things. You're doing these things. You're with them. Even when you don't want to be, you must survive as this person. You must do these things. And you must make these choices, these impossible choices. Like, you have to do these things. And somehow it's so brilliant. I don't think you could write a story this way. I don't think it's going to translate to television the same way. And I'm worried about that. But they somehow did manage to take that first game and convey those emotions, like to make you feel, you know, this kind of hopelessness and helplessness in this way that's almost like, it's so human and so real. I wish I were saying this better, but I'm so floored by it. And I think a lot of people have been floored by it. The acting, 10 out of 10, maybe 11 out of 10. The set design, 11 out of 10. It's flawless. It's amazing. The scripting, perfect. The characterizations, perfect. The extra delving into these backstories of these characters and these lives of these characters and these extra little details about them. They're so good. The little kid playing Sam, amazing. The whole backstory with everyone being gay, love it. Everything is good. Everything is good in that show, and yet it's so dark, so scary, so traumatizing. The characters don't make it out untraumatized. You don't make it out untraumatized. There's so much love and beauty in the world because there just is. And yet, bad things happen. And bad things will continue to happen. And the only thing you can do is to look for the light. And I think the game, the show, just managed to just encapsulate it all so brilliantly. In the end, all we're really doing is when we're trapped in the darkness, we're looking for the light. And that's the only way out. That's the only way to happiness. That's the only way to really be human, is to constantly be looking for the light. And the light means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But it's either that or give in to the fact that humanity is falling and has fallen. And that's just not who humans are. Like, even in this world where, like, the world wants to kill you, people are surviving and finding happiness and finding joy and telling jokes. And that's not only okay, but just so necessary and so beautiful. I just think it's an absolute triumph of storytelling in ways that there are a lot of amazing books and movies and everything that just, they don't tell a story so gorgeously. They pull their punches in the wrong places, that The Last of Us does not in any way pull their punches. The Last of Us came here to challenge you. And you came, even if you came in just looking for like a challenging first person zombie shooter, they'll challenge you there. But they'll challenge you on a different level as well. One that is forcing you to understand things about yourself and about humanity that, like, maybe you didn't even think about before. And so, like, did Joel make the right choice? Like, he wouldn't have made a different one. And it doesn't matter, because the other choice wasn't better. It wasn't better, it wasn't worse. They're just other choices. And the choice had to be made. And I do know the ending of game 2. And I think if you do too, you would also be on the same page, right? Zuko's crawling around looking for something. Hey. Here, come say hi before the end. Here. We'll have Zuko say hi. Zuko also watched all of The Last of Us and listened to Mommy cry every episode. Every episode. There was at least one tear every single episode. Because that should be hard. It'd be hard. And it was so good. I don't really want to hear your thoughts. I'll have you know I'm a huge Abby stan, so we can also go off on that. I have another video where I talk about Abby's amazing arms. She's so cool. Let me know what you think about the show, about the absolutely stunning acting, the absolutely incredible script, every part, perfection. And then the ending that should shock and devastate you, and yet couldn't be told any other way. Which is really, it's just the best storytelling. So yeah, leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you very soon. Good luck to you, and good luck to all of us. Bye.